Hello to you, and thanks for tuning into my channel. If you don't know, I am currently on the JET program. I'm a 5th year JET, and on this video I want to share what my interview was like in 2016. So that I just plop down in the little garden out here, give some nice scenery, that I can talk about what my interview was like, because that was very unique to say the least. So basically, I just sat at a table, normal interview type thing. There were 4 of us, but I remember looking down at the table, and there was like a disclaimer that said essentially the interviewers were apologizing for essentially asking too intense of questions, so they were preemptively apologizing for that, which I've never ever had anything like that in an interview. So that was, I didn't know what to think of that. I was kind of like, what kind of questions could they even ask that would make them need to essentially apologize? So I thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, I went in, and there were 2 former Jets, and then a Japanese guy that was sitting at the table, and pretty standard interview. They asked basic questions. Of course, they asked, why do you want to go on JET? Why do you want to go to Japan? And my answer to that was, I lived in Japan about a year before this, and I met a lot of people. People are really kind to me. This is a beautiful country, so I wanted to give back to Japan and try to teach the future students and the future people of Japan, try to make it a little better and make their lives a little better. So that was that. They asked, do you think you can adapt to Japan? And basically I said yes. I already lived there once and I loved it, so not too difficult for me to do. So that was maybe one of the easier questions. And then another question they asked, because in my statement of purpose I messed up the acronym for ALT. Messed up the acronym. That's so bad. So I said ALT means alternate learning teacher. That's so wrong. So they asked me, do you know what ALT even means? And I got it wrong in the interview also. So it worked out somehow. I'm still here. So yeah, they asked me that. They also asked, so I see you put 5 languages on your resume, so can you tell me a little bit about that? It says you can speak Russian. Thank goodness they asked about the Russian, because I also put like Turkish, even though I only know like 1 word. So I thought it would be a good idea to put a lot of languages. Don't put them unless if you're like very good at it, because that was a giant mistake. I got really lucky that they picked Russian, because I actually have a little story behind that. I told them that I used to work at a grocery store, and one of the customers was from Russia, and she couldn't speak any English. So I just, took like an hour or so and then learned how to say hello and how are you and my name is in Russian. So like Привет, меня зовут. How are you? Like как дела? Плохо, не плохо. How are you? Good, bad. So I was able to say that. I think they liked it. So yeah, I wouldn't be too risky about that in the future. I think that was a really bad idea that I put a lot of languages that I don't really speak. So yeah, I got lucky there. They also asked me a really unusual question. So they kind of took me off guard and asks, so if you're at an Enkai and your coworker is drunk, and at the time Trump was president, so they said if you're at an Enkai and your coworker is drunk and angry at you essentially for being American because your president is offensive,
there's no way I can make it down that ramp without falling on my ass,
and that coworker hates Trump, what do you say? So that was a hard question, but essentially I said, if I were talking to the coworker, I'd say that I respect your opinion. There are a lot of people with different opinions. I see why you think that. He said some very questionable things, but just because I'm from the country doesn't mean I align with every single value or every single thing that's said by the president. So if you want to talk about it more, we can. So that was my answer. And they liked that. I thought that was a very good answer too. That's how I answered that question. And they also asked, how I could share my culture with the kids. So I answered just you could do various things. You could do a cooking day, which sometimes we actually do now for ESS. It's kind of a fun little full circle thing. But you could do a cooking day and share like desserts, like apple pie for Americans. We had like, actually here we had like a, quesadilla day where we cooked quesadillas with the kiddos. That was really fun. And then last one, so they actually threw a curveball and they told me, all right, so surprise, guess what? We're gonna be elementary school kids and you have to essentially make up a class in a minute and give a demonstration on how you would teach us about your favorite food in your country. And then they just gave me a minute and let me like think of how I was gonna essentially teach them about food from my country. So they actually acted it out, like they were acting like they were little kids. One acted like they were off task, and I had to kind of go over to that interviewer slash kid and like try to get their attention back. So they basically acted like they were middle school children. So I taught them about pizza, had to kind of go to the one that was acting out and ask them a specific question to pull their attention back. So that was pretty hard, but as long as you can kind of adapt and like respectfully pull the attention of your students, quote unquote, back to you, I think they'll be more or less impressed. If you just don't act phased and then are able to control kind of the artificial classroom, so to speak, that they make, I think your interview will go well. If they still do that. I don't know if they still do that. But I did know, so I knew they were gonna have me use the whiteboard. There's a whiteboard in the room and I saw that someone had previously written on it and it was erased only partly. So I knew they were gonna have some sort of utilization of the whiteboard. So yeah, expect your interview to be pretty dynamic. I'm not sure if they still make it pretty dynamic, but for mine it was a lot of basic questions, challenging questions that kind of put you on the spot, and also making a class on the spot, and then being able to adapt to a lot of curveballs, or being able to demonstrate to them actually how a class is. That's how mine was, and again, I'm not sure if that's how they still do it, but be on your feet. I wouldn't be surprised if interviews now are still verbal, but also a lot of like either acting or kind of demonstrating your skills to them. Okay, so good luck. I hope you can do it. I know you can do it. You just gotta think, but also don't get in your head too much when the interview actually comes, because you gotta be able to adapt quickly. All right, so what do you think? How you feeling? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, we'll see you around.
Momo-chan desu.